Good morning. I'm Dave Apsley with Ohio State University Extension. On July 10th, our virtual Day in the Woods program will focus on measuring trees. Normally, if we had a class on measuring trees, we would make this stick part of the registration. We'd actually hand you one when you walked in the door. But since we're going to have to meet virtually, we thought we'd have you make a stick in preparation for that event. This stick is called a tree measuring stick or a cruiser stick, and it consists of multiple scales. Today we're going to focus on having you make a stick with the two scales that we're going to discuss today. One is the Biltmore scale. It's called a Biltmore stick, and it's going to be across the top edge of the stick here. Essentially from the left edge and then on out, you'll have a scale of numbers, and as you hold this against the tree, and we'll show you how to do that in a later video, you're going to be able to measure the diameter of that tree. The other scale that we'll use often is the Merit hypsometer. This scale that runs vertically on the stick helps us to estimate the merchantable or the saleable portion of the tree in logs. Each one of these numbers represents a 16-foot log. The ticks in the middle represent 8 feet or a half of a log. So the first step to making your own stick is to determine your arm reach. Most of the sticks that are available commercially are, the standard is 25-inch arm reach. And basically it's the distance between your eye and your hand, or where you're going to hold the stick. And the stick has to be held consistently at a distance to be accurate. So what we want you to do is determine your arm reach. I highly recommend just getting a yardstick, holding it up against your cheek, reaching out so that your arm is comfortable, and then seeing where your finger is. I'm very fortunate. My arm reaches right about 25 inches when I have my arm fully extended, so it's pretty easy for me to be consistent. It's really much more of a problem if you're very tall, because you're going to have to maintain a consistent bend in your arm, and over time that's hard to do. Also, if your arms are short and you have to continue to reach out to get that distance and hold your head back, that's hard to do too. So again, take a yardstick, hold it up against your cheek, slide your hand out, and see where your fingers are. If you're around 25 inches, give or take an inch, you're probably good. If you have a shorter arm reach or a longer arm reach, we're going to have tables available so you can make a custom stick that fits you. Let's get started. Now that we've got our arm reach, the next thing we need to do is select a nice piece of wood to make our stick with. This isn't super critical. You essentially need a piece of wood that is somewhere between 30 and 36 inches long. I just made these 36 inches long. This is actually a piece of pine. It's an inch and a half wide, 36 inches long, and about 3/8 to a ½ inch thick. The real key is that the stick, when you look down it, is pretty straight and is pretty stout and stable. I don't like a real flimsy stick. These are great to carry in the woods. You can measure trees with, but you can also knock cobwebs out of the way, even greenbriers. So again, a nice piece, straight piece of wood is all you really need. Again, this is a piece of pine. It was actually something I ripped off of a piece of packing material that came from the lumber yard. I also found this piece of oak that would work very well as well. I think I'll save it for another project and just use the pine. If you don't have a piece of wood like this, you could go to the lumber yard. Even a broom handle, any piece of wood that is about 36 inches long could work, but ideally something about an inch and a half wide so you've got plenty of surface to write your numbers on. Again, about 30 to 36 inches long, and make sure that it's true and straight and doesn't have a big warp in it. Okay, let's get started adding the scales. These are the things that you're going to need to make a cruiser stick or a tree measuring stick. First of all, you'll want to print the table that I sent. This again is the table for the 25-inch arm reach, but I will also include a spreadsheet with different tabs for different arm reaches. And if that's not adequate for you, feel free to reach out to me at apsley, apsley.1@osu.edu, and I'll be glad to send you whatever arm reach table you need. You'll notice on this table you've got diameters, tree diameters starting at 6 and working their way down to 60, and then the distance from the left edge are going to be numbers in inches and 1/16. So if you're using that table, you're going to need a ruler or yardstick, preferably, that has 1/16. So here's a nice metal yardstick that I'm going to use for this process. You'll also need a pencil that's pretty sharp, some kind of marker. I really like these fine-tipped permanent markers. The ultra fine tip Sharpie works very well. And then to make the job easier, I like a little framing square so that we can make the lines perpendicular to the edge. So that's all we're going to need. And it's really very simple. You're going to take your stick. You're going to look at the table, and the 6-inch diameter for a 25-inch arm reach is 5 6/16, which is also 5 3/8. So we just take our yardstick, we measure 5 3/8 inches from the edge, and we make a mark. I'd like to be as precise as I can, so I'd like to have this up near the edge. Again, 5 3/8. It's going to be about there. That's going to be the 6-inch. The 8-inch mark is at 6 15/16. So 6 15/16 is out here. We'll put another one on. And then 8 7/16 is the 10-inch mark. 8 7/16. It's going to be right there. So now we've got those marks. We're going to just make a nice square edge line across the edge. And you can design this however you want. I'll just make these lines all the way across. And we'll pencil in the diameter that goes with it. This is our 6, this is our 8, and this is our 10. And then we'll just continue to go across the stick to get the measurements. The 12-inch should be at 9 14/16 or 9 7/8. Should be out here. We've got 16 at 12 1/2. 18 at 13 12/16 or 13 3/4. 20 is at 14 15/16, so just shy of 15. And let's go ahead and square those off. Looks like I missed one in there. See, I've got too big a gap, so we're going to have to go back and figure out which one we missed, which is not a problem. So it's going to be the 12. I'm guessing this is the 16, the 18, and the 20. And let's go ahead and put the 14 in. It should be 11 3/16. So 11. Up here, closer to the edge. And 3/16. So we won't belabor the point here anymore. You can see the process. You just measure from the end, put your marks on there, and then label accordingly. That will give us our diameter or a Biltmore stick. I also recommend probably putting the arm reach, so 25-inch. And then you also may want to put DBH for diameter at breast height for a standing tree. Okay, that's the process of making the Biltmore stick, and then you would complete the stick out to however far you want. If you've got a 36-inch stick, you can easily go to 60-inch diameter tree. The other thing that we're going to do is make the Merit hypsometer, and this is much simpler. It's based on right triangles, and 6 1/16 is the distance that needs to be on the stick for each log. So you just start at one end, the same end, preferably the same 0 end, and you go to 6 1/16. And that would be your 1 log height. 12 2/16 would be your 2 log height. 18 3/16 would be your 3 log height. 24 1/4 would be the 4 log height, and then 30 5/16 would be your 5 log height. That's probably plenty. And then you can also put a halfway mark for the half log, so at just like It'd actually be 3 1/32. So right around 3 inches is where you're going to put the first mark, and then I would just go 3 inches up from each of those would be your half log marks. And then again, take and this is going to be 1 log. And then I would probably just make these half logs maybe a half a tick like that so you can find them. It's going to be 2 logs, 3 logs, 4 logs, and 5 logs. So again, this is the Merit hypsometer. You also might want to write on here 1 log 16 feet. And obviously these numbers are very hard to see, so that's why we have the Sharpie. I would highly recommend you take the Sharpie and you just trace over the lines that you've got. Make them dark and then write your letters in nice and neatly, which I have a hard time doing. I have very poor hand-eye coordination, but this will get the job done. You can get as fancy as you want with this. You can decorate it, do whatever you want to personalize it. I highly recommend when you're done, if you're planning on using this for the long haul, to go ahead and put some kind of coating, like a poly coating on it, so that it'll last for a long time. And that's the process. That's all we need to do is to make the Biltmore stick and the Merit hypsometer. Be sure to try to make this by July 10th, and we'll show you how to use it. Thanks, and have a great day. Here's one final look at our tree measuring stick. You'll notice this is the Biltmore side of the stick, with 0 being on the left side. And then the first measurement we have on here is 6 inches. And then at 2-inch intervals, we go all the way up to 60 inches. Again, this is the Biltmore side of the stick. I'm going to turn the stick over, give you a good look at the tree height measuring side, which uses the Merit hypsometer. You'll notice I did turn these numbers sideways so that when you're holding the stick vertically, like we do when we measure a tree, you'll actually be able to see those numbers better and be able to read them off the stick. And then finally, in case you're wondering, this is one of the most expensive commercially available sticks on the market. It's actually got brass tips. This is a very old one. They call it a cruiser stick, which I love that terminology. You'll notice our scale lines up very well with theirs. Plenty precise enough to give us good diameter measurements. This stick is about $88 if you go to purchase it online. So we've saved you $88 if you're interested in a cruiser stick or a tree measuring stick. We look forward to seeing you on July 10th so we can teach you how to use this stick to measure the trees in your woods. Good luck making your own cruiser stick. Thank you.